everybody, Clay Buford, Clackamas Fire. Today we're going to talk about the new air truck rehab unit, and we're going to talk about the operation of the air compressor and some of the steps to get it going and some of the unique characteristics about the air compressor. So one of the main purposes of this vehicle is to be able to fill air cylinders on scene. It has an onboard compressor, storage system, and fill station. So we're going to go over the operation of how to get this set up from getting in the cab, arriving on scene, and then setting up the compressor to be ready to fill. So now that we have this vehicle and we're able to fill cylinders on scene, we'll go ahead and get it started up and show you the process and the steps to be able to do that. So operationally, when you enter the vehicle, there's a battery switch located right here. You'll turn on the battery, and then there's an ignition right here in the lower left console, the dash. And other than that, everything is driving just like a normal vehicle. All right, a few things in the cab. We have our ignition on the lower left portion of the dash. We have our typical gauge cluster. We have our generator PTO switch, which is located right here in the center, and we have our parking brake. When you get on scene, you're going to park away from the scene, and you want to be away from smoke and any hazards, and level those areas possible. You're going to set the brake, put it neutral, set the brake, and then you're going to engage the generator PTO. So once you get the parking brake applied, you're gonna, if the transmission in neutral, you'll engage the generator PTO, which will activate the generator to be able to power the electric motor on the compressor. So we all know how to turn on the BTO, so let's go ahead and take a look at the rest of the vehicle. So once you get on scene and get the generator PTO running, get out, set your wheel chock. Now it's time to go and open all the doors, the two side doors that house the air compressor and the rear door that houses the fill station. So the compressor is housed over the wheels of the vehicle on a sled, and both side doors have to be open. The compressor's on a sled and it's in this compartment. Both side doors have to be fully open. There's a switch in there that will not allow the compressor to turn on. This is to allow adequate airflow to cool the compressor. So as the driver's side door is open, we'll walk around to the passenger side and fully open the passenger side door. Please remember that these doors have to be fully open for the air compressor to turn on. Then, while you're here, you want to check and make sure that the oil level is good in the compressor. The oil needs to be above this ridge in this sight glass, but below the threads. Now the side's open, we'll come back and open up the door for the fill station. As you notice, the fill station is elevated, so you'll have to put out the platform that's located underneath the vehicle. It is kind of tricky to get open. There are two metal tabs on either side of the platform. The bottoms need to be pushed towards the front of the vehicle while at the same time pulling back on the platform. The platform will lock into place and you're good to go. All right, we're going to explain the fill station area here. There's a few things that are a little bit different than the fill stations at the stations. First being this switch. This switch allows you to fill from our bank bottle storage, or you can fill from a compressor. Typically we're going to leave it in bank bottle storage, but if for whatever reason we lose pressure in the bank bottles or they're all the way down, we can turn it over and where it points down to from compressor, and you'll fill solely off the compressor. This will fill cylinders, however it will be very slow. The next controls that we'll see are the bank bottle controls. These are the cascade bank bottle controls. This fill type is different than what we use in the station. In the station we use a batch method where all of the cylinders are open all of the time and they're filling off one giant reservoir of air. This we're going to fill off of two of the bank bottles. Bank 2 is two of the bank bottles. Bank 3 is one of the bank bottles. And bank 4 is one of the bank bottles. In cascading, you start with the lowest pressure, you fill until it equalizes, close that, and then you step up to the next higher pressure until the cylinders are filled. It's a cascading system, so you're cascading the pressures up one by one. We'll go over cascade system and fill rates in more detail in a little bit. Right below is the controls for this particular 2-spot fill station. You have your inlet pressure, and that's the pressure coming from the bank bottles. This is your regulator. You're going to check your cylinder pressures for your fill pressures, and you'll adjust it. This is the fill pressure downstream of the regulator. These are your fill controls for fill spot number 1 and 2. Inside we have 2-spot fill stations. Over here are identical controls on the lower that control this fill station here. This upper control is a regulator and fill device for this 300-foot fill line that will be used for some of the specialty rescue and maybe in a RIT scenario. This is the computer control module for the entire compressor. With the generator running, we'll see it in action. This is the emergency stop. This will be used anytime that there's an emergency, catastrophic, you need to shut the compressor down right now. This will kill all electrical power and turn the compressor off. All right, now that we've gone over all the parts, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how do we actually fire this thing up. So we're going to close it back up. There's a few things. Once you get there, you're going to park like you normally would. You're going to park away from the area that all the fire activities are going to be going on. You're going to park in an area that doesn't have a lot of smoke, or no smoke would be preferable, and you need to be on as level ground as possible. So we'll close this up and then we'll go through it real time and show you how to get it fired up. Now that we're on scene, put it neutral, set the parking brake. I'm going to activate the generator PTO. And now that the PTO is engaged and we have a green light, we're going to get out and set the wheel chock and open all the exterior compartments. Compressor. We're going to turn on the 6 valves for the 6 cylinders. No other valves on this side need to be opened or closed at this time. Via the touch screen. Currently it's off as indicated by the red square. It says off. To turn it on, press the green square and it'll turn to on. Now the compressor is on, but it may not run if the bank bottles are all the way full. The compressor may not turn on, but it just did. Alright, go over again. We have our fill controls. These are bank bottle controls. The lower portion of this are the controls for this 2-spot fill station. The lower part of these controls are for this 2-spot fill station. These are the controls for this fill line, the 300-foot fill line, and then this is your monitor. Alright, now that we're here, it's time to fill bottles. When you open this, it'll be like a standard fill station. Currently, we have fill widths with the MSA Quick Connect fittings. In the future, we will have some other fill widths that will go on, and then they can be swapped out with the Quick Connect fitting right here. So in the future, you'll have the choice of being able to swap out fittings. Other than that, it's like being at the station, connect the bottles, turn it. You can only fill with the door closed and locked. There are safeties that don't allow you to fill. Set your regulator to your bottle fill pressure, and have fun filling. Alright, we'll shut this down and we'll talk about some of the other features. The shutdowns, ensure all of your valves are closed. Turn the compressor off by depressing the red square and it'll say off. And then this is done and we'll go turn off the generator. Wait a second, it's got a light tower as well. These are the controls for the light tower. It's a standard light tower. The instructions are on here. And then you can do whatever movements you need to do. To restore it, after it's being used, press both controllers and hit the P for park. Hey Clay, what do we do if it's raining? Glad you asked, Ryan. When it's raining, we have supplied you with an awning. There are hard controls here or this control. You hit out and it comes out. So we've gone over a few of the features of this Re-hab. This Re-hab is going to be an air truck and somewhat of a light Re-hab. Its designation still has yet to be determined of what it's actually going to be called. It's going to carry a few other things like some batteries for radios, air packs, and it's going to have extra cylinders. When they get there, you can swap out cylinders. The exact PLL with all of the Re-hab equipment and other equipment is still yet to be decided, and it's being worked on by a committee. Here again, and today we're going to talk to you about the steps to cascade fill the air cylinders. We have the truck here and set up as normal. You'd show up, open up all the doors, turn on the PTO generator, turn on the compressor, but for noise, for filming, we're just going to leave the compressor off and we're just going to go through the steps to cascade fill out of these two fill stations. All right, we're gonna go through the steps and we're gonna fill a couple cylinders which are low. First, you're gonna open fill station. We'll grab the cylinders. Each of the cylinders, we're gonna verify the PSI for the cylinder and the fact that it's been hydroed. It's 4,500 PSI cylinder and it's current. Same for that. Next, we're going to hook up the cylinder to the fill whips. These are the push to connect, just like you're hooking it up to the SCBA. Going to make sure your bleeder valve is off and turn on the bottle fully. You'll do this for all the cylinders. You'll fully close and make sure that the locking bar is falling, and you'll see that this fill 1 and 2 will show the current pressure of the cylinder. The next step that you have these on is we're going to open up bank 1 because we've just started filling. If bank 1 is lower than full and you see that your cylinders are higher than bank 1, you can go to bank 2. You'll want to step up to the next highest pressure on the bank. So we'll fully open bank 1 and then we'll begin filling the cylinders. And as suggested, we'd recommend 100 pounds per minute. We realize that that's a little slow. However, that helps prevent heat damage to the bottles. But fill at a rate that's prudent for the activities going on. All right, as I was filling, I turned on the bank and it began to fill and nothing happened, I realized that I did forget to adjust my regulator. So you'll want to adjust your regulator prior to filling. So right now it's at 2700 psi. We'll slowly turn it up until it gets to the required 4500 psi for these cylinders. And then I will begin filling again. Now you can hear that it's filling, and you'll fill at that slow rate until these pressures equalize, and then if it's below 4500 psi, you'll close bank 1 and then open bank 2 to finish topping off the bottle. As you fill more cylinders, the pressures in the bank bottles are going to go down, and so you'll have to get into bank 3 and then bank 4 to top off. Now while the compressor is running, it will be filling the bank cylinders, so it should keep up with you without any issues. All right, now we just filled the cylinders. We'll go over the steps to take the cylinders out, but before we do that, we need to chat about hearing safety. Because we are dealing with compressed air and we're going to be draining air under high pressure, and with the compressor running and with the generator PTO, it's pretty noisy, so you need to wear hearing protection when the PTO and generator and when you're filling or bleeding off air out of any cylinder, really. So make sure that you're wearing the approved hearing protection. There'll be some on the vehicle, and if you don't have any, make sure you get some. Now we've got my hearing protection on. We'll get the cylinders out. Make sure that all the valves are turned off that you turned on. Open this up, we'll turn off the cylinder, bleed off the air. When you hear the air is done, we'll remove the cylinder. And it's good to go. Full, green, good. The other one, it's the same process. All right, now that you got the cylinders out, we'll just close the door, make sure it latches. With the compressor running, let it run until the bank cylinders are all the way full and the compressor shuts off. Turn the compressor off at the panel, and you're done with this portion of it. All right, when it's all buttoned up, go ahead and close and shut all the doors. There is one other feature though that sets this vehicle from all the rest and maybe light years ahead of all of our competitors. Come with me. And let me show to you our secret weapon in Re-hab. So that's the bathroom. So we're gonna kind of button this up. This was the new vehicle rollout. As we said before, it's the destination is still yet to be determined. So those are just a few of the items, and those are the main items on it. And there'll be some other trainings coming up as far as the additional filling, how to properly use a cascade system. There'll be a few extra trainings coming out for all you folks that are going to use this regularly to fill.
How many marshmallows could you fit in your mouth at one time?
How many marshmallows? Probably about 12. The big ones?
Prove it.